For the first time ever, Prime Minister Netanyahu announced that he will allow Israeli immigrants from the Ukraine to access pensions from their home country. And speaking while in Kiev on a state visit, Netanyahu added that Israel will send Ukraine information about Israeli immigrants from the Ukraine so that they can start receiving the payments as soon as possible. Well, this is big news for Israeli immigrants from the former Soviet Union, since a third of them hail from the Ukraine. Interestingly, though, this development isn't really new. It was part of a bilateral agreement signed in 2014, which was just never put in place. But now, in a joint press conference with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Netanyahu vowed to make good on Israel's promise. But those critical of Netanyahu would say that this move is not an altruistic one, and that this is actually a ploy to get support from Russian speakers in Israel ahead of next month's election. In fact, securing pensions was a campaign promise made by political rival Avigdor Lieberman. However, Netanyahu's visit does go beyond mere politics too. In discussions with Zelensky, the two spoke about a free trade agreement between Israel and Ukraine and technological cooperations. The two leaders also discussed ongoing tensions between Ukraine and Russia, which resulted from the latter annexing Crimea. Similarly, also up for discussion was going over shared security concerns between the two countries, where Zelensky said that Ukraine had much to learn from Israel when it comes to combating threats. And speaking of security, Netanyahu later hinted to journalists covering his visit that Israel was responsible for recent airstrikes against Iranian targets in Iraq. He said that Iran has no immunity anywhere, and that Israel will act against them whenever it's necessary. So it's very possible that Netanyahu was referring to a massive explosion that took place in a Baghdad weapons depot controlled by an Iranian-backed Shiite militia last week. And while this is not the first time Israel has acted against Iran on Iraqi soil, don't expect confirmation of these attacks from an Israeli official often.